Good afternoon. It's Ashley Keller Williams Real Estate in Everett, and we're going to discuss the pros and cons to living in North Everett. Stay tuned. All right. Hey, it's Ashley Keller Williams Real Estate. I'm here to talk to you about the pros and cons of living in North Everett. The first con, is obviously the weather. You can see what it's doing here. It's raining. It's doing what it does. And here's the deal. We only get 160 days of sunshine a year, and we have more than 170 days of precipitation. Okay. Now, maybe on the plus side, we don't really get a lot of snow, and we don't really have smoking hot days, like where, it's like 100 some odd degrees. I mean, they happen occasionally, but it's not like you'll have months and months of 100 degrees and days of snow. Okay, so, our climate is more sort of like in the moderate. Like I would say we have like maybe two seasons. We have like rain season, or, I'm kind of kidding, but it's kind of more like sort of like spring and fall. We don't really have like what I would call an intense winter or an intense summer. Okay, so I hopped in the car for pro number one. Pro number one is Everett is relatively affordable. Now, it may be more than the national average for a single family house, which is around $377,000. All right. Everett comes in at $573,000 on average, but compared to King County, where the average single family house is almost $1.1 million, I mean, that 573 starts to sound pretty good. Okay. Similarly, in Snohomish County, which is where Everett is located, the average house property is $751,000. So, relatively speaking, it's pretty affordable for housing. Is it the most affordable in the nation? I would say no, but I think as far as, like the local areas, the surrounding areas, I think Everett's a pretty good option. Con number two, traffic. Now I think traffic is a bit of a double-edged sword in Everett, especially North Everett, okay? The traffic is actually, I read an article a few years ago that says that we have the worst traffic in the nation. Now, the traffic that I see as the most problematic is actually on like all the main highways. So if you have to be on I-5, or if you have to get on to like Evergreen, which is essentially Highway 99, during certain times of the day, the traffic is bad. Okay, the traffic's bad, just is. Now, on the plus side of that, if you're just in the town of Everett, all right, the in-town part of Everett, there's really never really ever any backups. I mean, I sometimes experience what feels like traffic on like Colby Avenue, right in the middle of downtown during lunchtime or something, okay? But I can tell you right now that kind of traffic compared to what I think people are imagining to be traffic, which is like you're backed up on the highway, you have your GPS on, you were supposed to be 10 minutes early and now you're 20 minutes late. That does not happen in Everett. Literally from like the most northern part of Everett to downtown, it's like 5 minutes. And the only thing that slows you down are stop signs and people walking their dog. Okay. So, it's got a plus and a con. If you have to commute from Everett, say, right? Like you're gonna get off, you're gonna like go down to Seattle, like that traffic, it's not great. You should probably budget like 45 minutes to an hour, honestly. But if you're just in the town, it's great. I mean, you can pretty much get to anywhere in Everett in like 15, 20 minutes. All right, con number three. We do have, I wouldn't say a significant homeless population, but we do have homeless people living in the city. And, I wouldn't say it's any worse or better than Seattle, say, for example, if you're contrasting those. But if you're coming from, like maybe like a place out of state, like Colorado, I think, it's easier to live here, perhaps if you're homeless, because the weather is so mild, right? Like it's like about 50 degrees here most of the time, right? 50, 60. We do get sometimes cold snaps where it gets really, really cold, but it doesn't happen as often. I mean, here's the thing. What does it mean for you? What it means is this. There's some property crime. right? Like, I mean, what I frequently read on sites like Nextdoors is like people stealing packages off of porches, but I don't think that's like unique to Everett. And sometimes people like steal your gym clothes out of your car. I mean, I don't know, like weird stuff, or steal your charger cable out of your car, or I think at one time I read someone stole someone's prescription eyeglasses, like, you know, like weird stuff like that. But here's what I'll do. I will put in the description below the link to the crime map. And here's the thing, it's just going to depend on where you are, right? Like, it's very interesting. Like, Everett is very pocketed. I mean, you could go like 5 blocks and it'd be completely different. Okay. So I'll put a link to the crime maps and you can decide for yourself. All right. Pro number 3. We're close to the marina. If you have a boat or the need to store a boat, you can store a boat very close by here in North Everett. Easy to get to it. That means that there's easy access to fishing, crabbing, and some of those, like, you know, water recreational things that you might want to do. You know, whale watching, etc. There'll be links below to all these different things so you can research some more. All right. Con number 4, shopping. So, all right, we do have shops up here in North Everett, and they're close by, and downtown does have some shops. But I would say, you know, we don't have like a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's, you know, like those big brands. We have Starbucks. We do have a Starbucks up here, but we don't have like those big, like mainstream things. Like if you want to go to an Apple store or something like that, you're going to have to, the nearest place would be like in Linwood. We do have Target close enough by, like it's drivable. So you could drive to a Target or like a Walmart, you know, and you're probably looking at about 15-20 minutes. It's still in Everett, but it's not directly here in North Everett. So you can go to Everett, or you can go to Lake Stevens, right? So you could battle the trestle if you wanted, okay? But, you know, it's kind of a bit of a weird con, right? Like, you know, if you're used to going to Whole Foods, it's not that we don't have grocery stores. We have Snow Isle Co-op, we have QFC, we have Safeway and all that stuff, but we just don't have, like, you know, the more, whatever, I don't know, maybe bougie grocery stores. Okay, let's just say that. All right, pro number 4. This is where everybody falls in love with Everett. It is so easy to get engaged in the community. It is so easy to get engaged in the community here in North Everett. So there are 5 neighborhoods up here, and all of them have active neighborhood associations. And so, you know, when you finally decide where you want to live, you could just contact the head of that neighborhood association, and you could become, you know, a part of like all the community projects. And, you know, we do like Christmas light decorating, and all these different holidays, Halloween light decorating, contests. You know, and a lot of times what they do in these association meetings is they talk about things that are directly impacting that neighborhood or might impact it. You know, it might be next to a neighborhood, which is great. There's usually some communication with local law enforcement and all that stuff. So it's very easy to get involved in the community. And it has like kind of like that small town neighborhood feel, like everybody, you know, once you're kind of ginned in, like everybody knows everybody, which is awesome. And all the neighbors are great. Okay. Con number 5, land. Okay. So here's the thing. If you are in North Everett, the historic lots sometimes can be small. They're going to range from somewhere. I mean, I think I've seen some that are like 1,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. All right. That's the rough range. A lot of them are kind of in that like 3,000 to 5,000 range. The city lot is like 3,049 square feet. All right. And that, you know, if you're coming from like the Midwest or, you know, places where your lot's like 8,000 square feet or 9,000 square feet, or you're on like an acre or something like that, it's going to seem pretty small. So the city lots are pretty small. I would say, generally speaking, the lots here in North Everett are larger than those than you're going to find on like these new build communities, right? Where, you know, they're packing them tight, right? You know, your lot size, like 800 square feet, right? So you're going to get a bit more space. It depends on the vintage of the house also, right? So, you know, if it's an older house built like turn of the century, you know, like early 1900s, it's probably gonna have a smaller lot. There are some houses that are built in like kind of mid-century, like 1950s, 1960s, that have larger lots. And so, you know, you might be able to get a little bit more land for your money. All right. But, you know, it's it's a bit of a con, right? I mean, it sort of depends on how you look at it. It could be a pro in the sense that you're closer to your neighbors. So if you kind of like that more like community feel, then you might be like, hey, I love it. This is great that my lot size is not huge. You know, I'm not living on an acre where I, you know, never hear from my neighbor. It's very, very like neighbor friendly. All right. Number 5, parks. Oh my goodness. We have loads of parks up here. Loads. Okay. We've got like, I will leave a link down below, but just to let you know, we've got like Legion Park, Grand Ave Park, right? Grand Ave Park is amazing. It's really beautiful. You can go out there, check out the water. It's very, very nice. The other park I'm thinking about is the Riverfront Park. There's Clark Park. There's Jackson Park. There's Garfield Park. There's tons of parks. So lots of green space. You know, if you have children or you yourself like to just go out and enjoy nature, we have lots of parks here, which is great. And they're all pretty close. I mean, you know, I think reasonably close. Most of them you can walk to. All right. Con number 5, it goes along with the land a little bit. I kind of touched on it, is the house and the architecture. Okay. Now, man, some people might feel like this is also a pro. But one of the cons is that a lot of the house stock up here is old. Okay, it's old. And what does old mean? Old means that sometimes the houses have not been updated, right? It means knob and tube. It means oil heat. It means asbestos. It means lead, paint, you know, like all of the like things that are very notoriously expensive to remediate. It means you have asbestos in your insulation, right? And so a lot of the housing stock is old. A lot of it has, you know, just that legacy of chemicals that came with that time, right? You know, the house ages range from like the late 1800s. I mean, there are some new builds here, all the way up to like, you know, current, but the new builds are very rare. I would say they probably represent maybe 1 to 5% of all the houses up here. Everything else is going to be a home that has been pre-owned, maybe by several people, and, you know, was probably built like, I would say quite a few of them are early 1900s. So 1901, 1915, like kind of in that time frame. And then we have some that are kind of like in the 50s, 40s, 50s. You know, there aren't really any that are built in like the 70s. Like you're not going to find like a split level really here in North Everett. I mean, you know, gosh, I'm trying to think if I've ever even seen one. I mean, it's possible, but it is not likely. You're not going to get a split level. You're not going to get a tri-level up here. It's either going to be like a 1.5 story. So somebody has like a single level and somebody maybe converted an old attic, or it's going to be like a traditional 2-story home, or a single level. And that's it, right? There's not really any, and the single levels are not big. Gosh, I could go into this forever and talk about the housing, but you know, I think that there are some clear cons there. Like if you are like, hey, I want a brand new house that's a single level and it's 2,000 square feet, North Everett's not the place for you. I mean, you know, they exist, okay? Like there are some houses that have been restored and renovated, but they're very expensive. They're not the ones that are kind of in that like average price point. So you might be able to find one, but that house is probably going to run you upwards of $1 million. Okay. All right. Number 6 for the pros. Look, and I'm sorry, there's a lot of pros. Beautiful views of the mountains and water. Okay. I mean, I don't even know if I need to say anything else. Come and see it for yourself. Here's the thing. You could buy a house here and you could have a view of the mountains to the east, and you could have beautiful views of the mountains and the water to the west. All right. Like, you know, we're completely surrounded by water. There's river views. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I think, you know, most houses don't have a view. All right. But it is possible to find a house that does have a view and definitely enjoy it. All right. Definitely enjoy it. All right. Con number 6. So I'm glad we talked about views. We don't really have a lot of great beaches here. Okay. Like, you're not really going to come to Everett and go down and check out the water, like walk in it. All right. You know, besides Jetty Island, which, you know, yes, it's a beach. Yes, you can get to it, but you have to like take like a little ferry boat over there to get to it. You can't just like, you know, say, hey, let's drive over here and go check out this water. Like, no, like it's all, most of the waterfront has something on it that's built. All right. And, you know, if you think about the history of Everett, you know, it was kind of highly industrialized and all that stuff. And to be honest with you, you might not really want to go in that coastal water. I mean, I think about all the possible chemicals, you know, all those legacy chemicals. And, you know, you might want to just be like, oh, it's better just to look at it. No touchy. Look, no touch. All right. Pro number 7. We're getting good here. We're close to the airport. So Everett has a regional airport, and it does fly to some places here on the West Coast. So the California, Oregon, Arizona, Nevada, and Idaho, which is great. And, you know, it's nice. This airport's like 17-minute drive. All right. It's empty. You're not going to wait for security forever. It's like literally you can just drive up. Someone drops you off. You hop out. You check your bag. You're the only person in line. You go to security. There's like 2 people in front of you. It's definitely no SeaTac. So it's great if you want to do like a little vacation to like a Palm Springs or something, or hit to Vegas or something like that. It's great. Okay. Because here's the alternative. The alternative is you drive down to SeaTac. Now, on a nice clear day, SeaTac is probably like an hour drive. If you try to go down to SeaTac at like 4 o'clock, it might be like 2 hours. Okay. It's really a pain. The other option would be to go up towards Bellingham, but you know, it's the same problem. Bellingham is still about an hour away. And, you know, here's the thing. The reality is for most big international flights, or if you're trying to fly to the East Coast, you're just going to have to suck it up and go to SeaTac. I mean, it's going to save you a lot of money, but I can just tell you right now, the commute is not fun. All right. So I'm hoping that we get more flights out of our regional airport. You know, it's really small, but, you know, it's very, very convenient. I've flown out of that airport and it is awesome. Okay. It's awesome. All right. Let's see. And now I just have like pros left. Okay. So we're just going to run down the line of pros in no specific order. Number 8, very walkable here. Very, very walkable. There's sidewalks pretty much. I would say like 98% of the roads have sidewalks. We have bike lanes. People walk their dogs all the time. People going for walks all the time. So it's a very walkable area. Obviously, the closer you get down to downtown, you know, like if you're in like the Port Gardner neighborhood, or if you're in Bayside, or if you're in Riverside, you know, it's pretty walkable to like most places. You can walk out of your house, go for a short walk. You can get downtown, you can go to shops, go to restaurants and all that stuff, which is sweet, right? Because I think if you know about the other parts of Everett, right, the south parts, you know, it's not as walkable. There's not sidewalks, like, you know, very, very few sidewalks down there, okay? And there's a history behind that. And I will go over that someday. All right. Pro number 9, the schools. So here's the thing. I think historically, Everett schools have kind of gotten a bad rap. Like if you ask people, generally speaking, they'll be like, oh, you know, I've heard Everett schools are not that great. Well, it turns out that Everett schools are ranked 3rd in Snohomish County, above Lake Stevens and Mukilteo. The one thing that I will tell you about Everett schools is that, you know, Everett Public Schools includes some of the schools that are sort of in the south area of Everett, and those schools tend to be more highly ranked. What you're going to want to do when you're researching schools is look specifically at the school that you are considering in that neighborhood, and see what that ranking is, because they vary quite a bit. But overall, it seems like Everett schools have come up quite a bit. I mean, the sort of like, you know, this is very typical, is that the schools that are ranking higher tend to be in the more expensive neighborhoods of North Everett. And that's really not that much of a surprise. I mean, I think that happens. I mean, it's probably a nationwide problem, actually. I mean, it was a problem when I lived in Colorado, and it seems to be a problem here as well. So that's my advice to you. I will put the link down below so you can go on research schools specifically, and you can look at like, oh, okay, I'm looking at a house on this street. You know, what's the nearest elementary school, or what's the nearest middle school, what's the nearest high school, and then you can get those rankings and figure it out. All right. Number 10. Pro number 10. I'm sorry about all the pros. I love Everett. New development. Oh, man. Like, there's just so much new development happening. I mean, it's too much for this video. I'll have to do a separate video on all the new development, but just to kind of give you guys a flavor and a taste. So we've got the whole waterfront. So that's on the west side where the water is. Oh my gosh. There's going to be a huge, huge, huge mixed use area. It's going to have apartments. It's going to have restaurants. It's going to have shops. We already put a hotel over there. There are apartments that they're leasing right now. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And obviously the marina's there and there's already a lot of good restaurants there. Okay. So the waterfront development, it's getting sweeter and sweeter every day. Like, they just did a groundbreaking for some new restaurants. There's, like, I think they announced a restaurant and a bakery. So that's pretty sweet. Then you've got the riverfront. Okay. And like I said, I'll put the links down below. Then you've got the riverfront, huge mixed use development, right? So if you look at the riverfront, it has a bunch of, let me see if I can orient you. So to the south, it's got like a bunch of houses. Then in the middle, it's going to have apartments, movie theater, restaurants, shops, all kinds of stuff there. And then up north of that, it has like a townhouse community. Now, here's the thing. The townhouse community and the house community are sold out. There's no more brand new builds in there. So if you want something in there, it's going to be a resale. Someone's going to have owned it. But you know what? They were just recently built. They're all brand new. So look, here's the thing. If you want something brand new in North Everett, Riverfront might be an option. All right. But you're going to notice when you go tour Riverfront and you compare it to sort of like the older parts of North Everett, I mean, they're almost, and you can't even compare them. It's like a completely different place. Okay. So look, I'm super excited about that. And then obviously downtown. So, downtown Everett is undergoing like pretty big revitalization. There's things that are being built down there. There's new apartments being built. There are new businesses arriving there. And so it's just, it's kind of like all the things that are happening. And it's just like, come to North Everett. All right. So that wraps up my video, the pros and cons to living in North Everett. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, please, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you again soon, YouTube.